Tyler, how are you getting on with the lockdown and the situation that we're in? Hope you're staying safe with the family.
Hey Chris, we're doing okay over here. I appreciate you asking. I hope you guys are doing well over where you're at.
So during these times of lockdown and uncertainty, how have you been filling out your time?
Um, I've just been kind of taking this time to just learn more and more, uh, to build my website and, just do some personal projects that I kind of had on the back burner.
Tyler, with that accent, I know you're from North America somewhere. Can you tell me exactly where you're from and a bit about yourself, please?
My name's Tyler Schwab. I'm 36 years old. I'm based in Findlay, Ohio. It's a small city here in the United States. I've lived here all my life. I absolutely love it here. I love the people. There's plenty of job opportunities.
So how long have you been a photographer? And I know that as a photographer myself that I shoot a variety of things. What particular things do you actually focus on when it comes to your photography?
I've been doing photography for about 8 years now. It's been quite a learning process. I've only been doing it professionally for about 2.5 years though. And my main focus is portraiture, but I also do events like weddings and stuff like that.
When I started out as a photographer, I knew nothing. I didn't even know that I wanted to be a photographer, even though I was a creative person. And a friend of mine had a camera. I didn't even know how to take the lens off the camera and put it on again. And when you first started out, what was it like? And was it a steep learning curve?
So when I first started out in photography, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anything about lighting, composition, any of the settings in the camera. And I would always see these really cool pictures with people with blurry backgrounds behind them. And I always wanted to, I always wondered how they did that. Because obviously, shooting in automatic, there was no way I was ever gonna be able to achieve that.
You make a good point about not being able to replicate some of the images that you were seeing because you were shooting in automatic. And I try to encourage beginners to learn their camera and put their camera in manual or at least semi-auto. And that way your creativity can be expressed through the camera. Moving on from that, what three things make a good photographer?
The three main things that makes you a photographer is understanding light and shadows, understanding composition, and also understanding the settings in your camera. Knowing which settings to use for what situation.
What motivates you and inspires you to keep going as a photographer? And I'm not just talking about getting clients. What inspires you to keep going or push through um, when you hit those brick walls?
The first thing that comes to mind is probably my kids. Taking all these pictures throughout the years, I often go back and look at those pictures, and it just puts a huge smile on my face, knowing that I took those pictures for one, but also just seeing the expressions on their face as I look back through those. And it was almost like telling a story. So I was, every picture I was pretty much reading their story at that time in their life.
And the thing that I'm always asked when it comes to photography is, how do I get my clients? How do you get your clients?
Probably like most people, my first paid job was actually one of my friends. I would constantly get people asking me to do, pictures of their families and stuff like that on Facebook every time I would post a picture of one of my kids. And unfortunately, I had to turn them down for, maybe the first 100 or so. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to take that chance to where I would screw something up. Um, but I finally just dove right into it. I was super nervous. I remember driving there. I was sweaty. I had all kinds of stuff running through my head, like a million different things running through my head. Like, am I going to screw this up? What if my camera messes up? Or, what if the pictures don't turn out good? But, once I actually got there and I started talking to my clients, which, it definitely helped that they were friends. Once I started talking to them about maybe a third of the way, maybe 10, 20 minutes into it, I was fine, and we just kind of breezed right through it. The pictures turned out great, and it was an awesome experience.
Do you work for free? And can you define free?
You know, just because there's no money involved doesn't mean that you're working for free. You could be building your portfolio. You could be doing a personal project for yourself, um, doing stuff for charities. Every once in a while, I'll do like a charity shoot, or I'll give away a free mini session or something like that. All of those things kind of create they create more jobs for you, and they get you out there. The whole, you know, I don't work for exposure thing. I get it, and it is a business, and you have to kind of balance that out. Don't let people take advantage of you, but if you see an opportunity where you know you feel like you're gaining something out of it, I would say go ahead and do it.
Everyone has an opinion about processing, editing. What are your views?
I feel like photography is a form of art, just like anything else, like drawing or music or you know anything like that. So editing is definitely a big part of my photography. I don't always take it over the top. I try and keep it toned down for the most part, especially for my clients. I try not to do too much, but I will do basic retouching, coloring, processing of raw images, stuff like that. But when I do personal projects, I tend to go a little bit overboard, which is fine because for me, that's what makes you grow. I mean, you could take some of those personal projects that you've done and some of the you know methods that you try, and you can slowly start to incorporate that. Even if it's not the exact same thing, you can incorporate some of the stuff that you learned by doing your personal projects and incorporate that into some of the client work.
Share with us your frustrations when it comes to photography.
There's been quite a few times that I've been pretty frustrated. You know, mainly just starting out. Uh, I didn't have anybody really to help me. All I had was YouTube. That's how I learned everything. So, you know, there really wasn't one, you know, particular moment that stood out to me. It just mainly learning all the manual settings and stuff like that for myself.
As a channel aimed at beginners and intermediates, I'm always trying to get across it's not the gear that's important. And I'm always fighting against gear acquisition syndrome. What's your opinion in terms of skill versus gear? Which one would you go for? Is it skill or is it gear? I'd like to hear your opinion on that.
I would have to say skill over gear. And what I mean by that is learn your skills first, you know, figure everything out. And then once you run into a wall and you can't learn anymore with the stuff that you have, or if you need something um, that would maybe, you know, help minimize your workflow, that's when you go out and buy gear. Don't just buy gear to buy gear. It's not going to make you a better photographer. Just your knowledge and your education, that's going to make you a better photographer, not the gear.
Sometimes when I want to capture a quick image, I tend to use my iPhone. This is iPhone 10. Very good camera, and can shoot 4K, which is great. But other times when I want to be more in depth with my photography, I use my proper camera. What are your views on using mobile phones, and what is the comparison between both? Could this ever replace this?
I can confidently say that I really don't think cell phones are going to be taking over the photography industry anytime soon. Uh, Physics just won't allow it. I mean, you're not going to fit you know a full frame sensor into a cell phone. At least right now, you're not. And then as far as lenses go, you're never going to get the look of you know a 200 f2 or 105 1.4 in a cell phone. It's not possible. So as far as you know, maybe using it as a tool, there's some things that I definitely use my cell phone for, and that's you know if I go to a park or something and I want to you know find different compositions and I don't have my camera with me, find different places, stuff like that. I'll use it there. I like to use my phone with SnapBridge to do like self portraits and stuff like that. So there's stuff that it can be used for, but as far as it, taking over DSLRs and mirrorless cameras, it's probably not for a long time.
Going back to the subject of gear acquisition, have you ever bought anything that you regret buying or you haven't used?
The only thing that I can say that I bought and somewhat regretted was I bought a really cheap, like $100 light kit off of Amazon quite a few years ago. The lights were just trash, to be honest with you, but came with like 3 lights, couple stands, backdrop stand, and then also a couple, really cheap backdrops. So even though I didn't really use the lights very much, I actually, to this day, if I'm in a pinch, I'll actually use some of the stands and even the backdrop stand. Actually, the backdrop stand I'm actually using right now. It wasn't a complete waste, but yeah, I do kind of regret buying that set.
Photography should never be about making money. That should never be the first motivation. What do you get out of photography?
Photography really just gives me a creative outlet. I've always been somewhat creative, whether it be drawing when I was a little kid, and not too long ago I used to write my own music and produce my own music. So it's just it's almost like an evolution for me in my creative process. I really love doing it. It gives me something to do, and then just seeing when my clients look at their pictures for the first time, the smiles on their face, their reaction to what I've created for them, that's pretty amazing to me. And to know that they're going to have these images, for a really long time, and possibly even, hang them up in their house, that means the world to me.
If you could go back in time, what 3 pieces of advice would you give to young Tyler as he takes his first step into the world of photography?
Probably the first thing I would say is just go out and shoot. Just buy a camera, go out and shoot landscapes, shoot some pictures of your kids or family members or whatever. You could take pictures of sunsets, or even just go outside and take some pictures of your flowers. This is going to help you get familiar with your gear. And then, the next thing would probably be if you can find a workshop in your area, or if you know a photographer that may be willing to help you out, help you learn a couple things, I would say that would definitely be a good thing to do. If you don't have anybody, you can always go on YouTube and look up videos. And then probably third, the most important thing is just understanding light. Understand light, understand shadows, understand how to modify light, using shade. And
so Tyler, how important is social media, and do you use it often?
I actually get most of my work from Facebook and Instagram, so it's definitely important to me. And I also teach a little bit, so I have a channel on YouTube. Right now, it's mainly editing. I would like to get into more behind the scenes shooting and stuff like that, so be on the lookout for that. You can find me on all these platforms at Tyler Schwab Imagery. Just look up Tyler Schwab Imagery on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. You can see some of my work. You can, if you're a beginner, you can go on there and learn how I go through my editing process. But yeah, it's very, very important, I think.
What's your end goal?
And I would eventually like to make photography my full-time job, but I'm working towards it, but not quite there yet. But I think I'm on the right track.
Well, Tyler, thank you for joining me on my channel and sharing your knowledge. Very inspiring. For those who are listening, I shall put a link to Tyler's YouTube channel just here, and information about how you can contact him will be down in the description below. So his Facebook and his Instagram. In the meantime, thank you again for spending a bit of time with me, and I'd like to thank you for joining me on my channel. If you haven't subscribed, why not subscribe and hit that notification bell, and that way you'll keep up with this series I am doing on interviews with photographers. Thank you again, and stay safe and happy shooting.